The Great Depression, the age of escapism. Before the 1930s, there were the 1920s, a time for youthful fun, displayed in the boyish silhouette that was shorter and embellished for movement. Credit was used quite liberally to keep up with the new American lifestyle and mass consumption, especially big-ticket household appliances, which meant people were racking up a lot of debt. This economic crash of the Great Depression is due in part of the massive exploitation of credit. Other signs in the 20s, like farms foreclosing due to overproduction and expensive machinery purchases because of World War I, and the car manufacturing and residential construction rates slowing by 1925, foreshadowed what was to come. With the stock market crash of 1929, people were panicked and wanted to withdraw their money from the bank. At this time, a lot of banks in America were small and individually owned, so when people came in droves to withdraw their money from the banks, they didn't have enough on hand and they had to close down, causing a massive bank failure across America. For context, by the end of 1931, 2,294 banks in America had failed, double than the failed banks of 1930. Before the banks failed, they tried to get money to give to their clients by asking people to pay back their loans and assets, causing credit to freeze up. Frozen credit means that less money was circulating, which led to deflation, meaning that prices dropped. So businesses need to cut costs to stay afloat, which usually came in the form of layoffs, which rose the unemployment rate. For context, by 1932, over 10 million people were unemployed, which was 20% of the workforce. These unemployed people couldn't afford the products that businesses were selling, which led to more price drops, and the cycle started again. These businesses couldn't get loans from the banks since they weren't giving out loans, and a lot of businesses failed and closed. It's important to note that due to World War I, Germany had to pay a lot of war reparations to France and Britain, and borrowed money for America to do that. France and Britain also owed America money at this time, so that means that when America's economy crashed, it also negatively impacted France, Britain, and Germany's economies as well. As these countries were very big in trade, they couldn't afford to purchase things from each other anymore, so world trade was heavily affected. This was a very scary time of uncertainty, and definitely not a time for fun like the 20s were for most. This was impacted in the silhouette becoming hugging curves with a defined waist and hemlines dropping anywhere from mid-calf to just above the ankle. This body skimming or slinky silhouette worked the best with bias cut. Bias cut was a method of cutting pattern pieces on a 45-degree angle so the garment had the stretchiest part of the grain around the body, allowing the garment to accentuate the curves even better and allowing for better movement. This method was used by Madeline Bennett in the 1920s, and only in the 30s did other designers like Chanel start to use it. The pendulum swing of the silhouette changing from the 20s to the 30s could be attributed to the general anxiety of the public towards the economic uncertainty of the time. The 20s were filled with experimentation and rule breaking because they felt secure. With the hardships of the 30s, society is scared, and they reverted back to the safety of known gender roles. It was a time to be grown up. The woman's silhouette was no longer childish, but instead accentuated the curves of the female figure. This was a time for ultra femininity. Reverting back to the traditional gender roles painted a woman as someone who was dainty and gentle, someone that needed to be protected and cared for. This is also validated in the men's silhouette of broad shoulders, illustrating their traditional gender roles of a strong protector. Hats themselves were also a must-have when leaving the house. This bolstered the image of a proper woman, but also may be a metaphor for the protection and comfort that they were craving. The gentleness of a woman was very much seen in the dainty patterns of the time, like polka dots and floral motifs. These patterns were also a way for people to seek little joys in life to stay comforted. The color palette was also filled with soft, muted, and gentle colors. Popular colors included mauve, lavender, sage, powder blue, dusty rose, seafoam, and cornflower. Note that these aren't the drab color palettes of the war, nor the vibrancy of the 20s. These colors are meant to comfort, but also create an escape from the scary reality of the world. For the majority of the population, they were struggling. Fashion responded to those struggles, especially for the people suffering the most in the Dust Bowl, with things like sack dresses and the Hooverette dress. The Hooverette dress was a reversible wrap dress to wear around the house. If a woman got her dress dirty, she could just reverse it, and she had a brand new dress. This was great because it was easy to sew and doubled a woman's wardrobe when they could not afford much. Sack dresses were dresses for women and children made out of cloth sacks of flour and chicken feed. Flour and chicken feed companies realized women were using their packages to make their dresses, and they started making them with popular prints so that women were more inclined to buy their products. There was a small percentage of the rich that stayed rich during the Great Depression. These people used their money to escape from their realities by going on vacation. A popular destination was Africa to go on safari. People became obsessed with Africa, and this led into fashion by leopard and cheetah print becoming popular. Another popular destination was the Riviera, located in the south of France and the Mediterranean. Suntanning was very popular, which translated into backless evening wear becoming popular to show off a tan. During the beach day, pajama pants, now called palazzo pants, were very popular. Resort collections of today came from the wealthy people vacationing on the French Riviera. It's important to note that pants for women were only acceptable for leisure activities, like beach or sport. In any shape or form, it was clear that everyone, rich or poor, was craving an escape from the harsh reality they were living in. And for the majority who couldn't afford the French Riviera or an African safari, the escape was cinema. Before World War I, the American film industry moved to Hollywood due to the cheap land and sunny climate that allowed for filming outside all year round, and close proximity to the desert, mountains, and ocean, which provided many different terrains for many different types of movie settings. The 20s is when movies were becoming popular, and celebrities were starting to become a thing. With the Great Depression involving economic hardship and scared uncertainty, cheap and affordable movie tickets provided a way for escape. This fascination and coping mechanism of going to the movies lent itself for movie stars to become the icons of this era. The stars depicted glitz and glamour on screen, something so desired by so many. People wanted to emulate these stars any way they could in their own life to have some of this hopeful glamour to cling to as comfort. This meant that the most popular stars became the ideal body and beauty standards of the time. The actress Jean Harlow truly exemplified these ideals. In the past, when women's figure were important to the silhouette of the time, they had garments that could modify their bodies to fit their ideal, like a corset or a bustle. This is the first time where there was no modifying garment, so women felt pressured from the skinny, slinky ideals of the time, as well as from news articles to diet to gain the desired body type needed. In 1934, the article Pounding Away by Dr. Morris Fishbein was released talking about the dieting trends and attached a meal plan for the day to follow based on calories to help lose weight. It also talked about the 18-day diet, that was also known as the Hollywood diet, because it was known that many actresses used it when they needed to lose weight for a movie role. Intentionally starving yourself to lose weight for a movie role or to look like the icons from the time is pretty extreme, but this is how important and influential Hollywood and its stars were at the time. People would want anything to let them look or feel like the glamorous characters they saw on screen, or the actresses that played them. This did not just mean fashion, which not everyone could afford. People started to style their hair in wavy curls with flat tops, just like the stars like Jean Harlow. They also emulated the movie star beauty standards of powdered face, thin high eyebrows, light eyeshadow, thick eyelashes, and natural or red glossy lips. This era saw the rise of the lipstick effect and small luxuries, with people buying small purchasing products like lipstick to treat themselves in times of economic hardship. Jean Harlow was not the only star that had iconic eyebrows and a flat-topped hair. Greta Garbo was one of the first actresses to popularize the look. She also had a hand in popularizing beachwear fashion. In 1929, the movie The Single Standard, Greta Garbo wore trousers, which were not part of the mainstream women's fashion at the time. In the movie, she was actually wearing her male partner's clothes. One of the looks she was wearing is a striped pajama set that looked like men's sleepwear. This style made sleepwear lounging sets popular, which can be seen in the Great Depression on the banks of the French Riviera. The same pajama pants the rich wore that created resort wear lines for the future. Greta Garbo was not the only popular movie star who dabbled in men's fashion. Marlene Dietrich was another popular movie star that was famous for pushing the gender and sexuality boundaries of the day. She also contributed to the pants joining women's wardrobe for sports and leisure activities like vacationing. Both Garbo and Dietrich's pants were high-waisted and wide-leg. Dietrich also made it popular to wear a barrette hat with a men's suit. She also had broad shoulders and narrow hips. Her interest in wearing men's suits and her unique proportions could have helped to inspire the 1940 silhouette of broad padded shoulders and a cinched-in waist. Another design that exhibited these proportions is the famous Joan Crawford dress in the movie Letty Linton in 1932. The studio hired a photographer to take pictures of Crawford in the dress for promotional material. When the publicity package and movie was released, women of the time fell in love with the dress and demanded their version of it. This was the first time the public saw something in the movie and wanted it for themselves. Retailers in Hollywood alike saw this as a new way to make profits. Macy partnered with the studios to make a then $10 version of the dress. Now that amount would be about $168. This completely shifted the fashion industry, because instead of Paris becoming the most powerful and influential fashion power to America, it was now Hollywood movies. This dress resonated with how the women of the time wanted to feel. They were inspired by the romance and heightened femininity of the white organdy ruffles, as the dress was carefree and carelessly luxurious. Dozens of these knockoff dresses flew off the shelves and could be seen in high school graduation photos years later. This is a reminder of the time that even though people were craving the luxury of the movie world, a lot of them could not afford to keep up with it. People were still suffering with unemployment and making ends meet, so they had to save up for the medium luxuries, as opposed to the small luxuries of lipstick. The original dress was made by one of the most popular and influential costume designers of the time, Gilbert Adrian, who just went by Adrian, and worked with most of the popular stars of the age on and off screen. Another popular movie Adrian designed was The Wizard of Oz in 1939. The color emerald is a big part of the movie and the wardrobe, and the same year, Gone with the Wind debuted, with emerald present throughout the lead character Scarlett O'Hara's wardrobe. Another movie, The Woman, that was also designed by Adrian, featured a color fashion show in the middle of the grayscale movie with the clear presence of emerald. By the end of the 30s, high fashion had embraced the color. No matter of its influence on and off screen, Adrian's designs and costumes meant a lot to the fashion industry and this golden age of Hollywood in the 30s, acquiring their then new position as trending fashion icons. Hollywood now had a democratization of fashion, deciding what trends were popular and what the majority of the people would wear, known as mass consumerism. This shift in power forever changed how people are influenced by fashion today. It was the right time for movie stars to become the fashion icons of the day because of what their work represented, a chance to escape. Movie stars were also set to a higher standard and expected to embody perfection on the screen, which added to the magic of the movies and the desire for the public to achieve even a sliver of what they were displaying. I also believe that the Depression's economic situation helped to provide a foundation for the first dress to take off when the demand presented itself. Before the Depression, businesses in America and other countries would buy copies of Paris designs and then resell them to their customers. During the Depression, there were 90% duties on these designs, which was not affordable. But toils of the designs were duty-free. Toils of muslin or other cheap fabric patterns of the garment that came with construction directions. These toils created an infrastructure in department stores and other clothing businesses to be able to copy the clothes in mass volumes themselves. This led the way for Joan Crawford's white dress look to take the US by storm and make many copies, which allowed for Hollywood to secure its place of influence in a spot that used to be Paris's. With this, department stores were prepared to take advantage of the opportunity that presented itself with the Crawford dress, and in going down this path, created a new standard for how fashion trends were created. It is good to remember that the zeitgeist of the era is the age of escapism. Everyday life was filled with anxiety and hardships, creating a desire to escape. The movies with their glitz and glamour made that escape possible for the majority who could not afford to jet set to the Riviera. The cinema provided hope and promise that someday somewhere better days exist. These movie stars and their characters were living that rose-colored reality, so in daily life, people wanted to emulate the movie stars in any way they could to hold on to the alternate reality that would only otherwise exist in the movies. The need for escapism was almost identical with the COVID-19 pandemic. People were looking to stream services for shows and movies to provide them with comfort and something to do while stuck inside the house and scared for our health and future. We are still influenced by visual media to this day. Ever since the Crawford dress, popular movies, and now TV shows are the prominent influences of consumer styles. Actors and stars also have an impact on our style with red carpets and magazine shoots. When we like a show, movie, or actor, they can influence us and our preferences. A great example of TV influencing the trends of today is the popularity in bejeweled and crazy eye makeup after Euphoria blew up. Also the new interest for Y2K fashion, as Euphoria utilizes a lot of 90s and Y2K fashion inspo. For example, the juicy couture-esque velour matching set for Maddie. In terms of forecasting, it is just predicting or guessing what is to come for the future. This guess does not come out of nowhere, but from researching what came before and seeing if any pictures emerge in history and or in human nature. This is very evident between the parallels between the Great Depression and the COVID-19 pandemic. While women might not have changed their silhouette to be more feminine for the protection of men and security that known gender roles give to an anxious person like they did in the 30s, women and non-women alike did find comfort and friends in their TV shows and movies. From this comfort and escape, just like the women in the 30s, they experimented with their styles and makeup to emulate the characters they got so used to knowing in a time when we felt isolated. These characters became our friends, our confidants, and then our influences. Since we were so isolated from everyone, the only inspo around us was from new TV and movie coming out. Whether COVID-19 pandemic or the Great Depression, human beings' natural instinct is to look for comfort and safety when they are scared. And escaping our reality or idealizing someone who provides a beacon of hope, powerful influence can affect our fashion and daily lives.